Hi, and welcome to the Navigate Tuesday tip. I'm Pam Kazlauskas, a trainer for Navigate, and today we're going to be talking about EIV discrepancies as part of our Mastering the MOR series. One of the things that we have found in findings is that a lot of housing managers are really unsure still of how they are supposed to be documenting discrepancies. So we're going to talk a little bit about what we mean when we talk about discrepancies and then how to resolve them. So discrepancies are conflicts with the existing file information. So you're talking about something that you found in your existing tenant search, in the multiple subsidy report, or any of the other reports that you run normally. So let's look at the existing tenant search first. Your existing tenant search is going to be run before admission. So this is the one that you run on your applicants rather than on your tenants. You're going to file this whether or not there is a hit. So if you run this through and the report says there's no record of that person being in subsidized housing, you're still going to print that page and put it in the file. If there is a hit, if it shows that the person that's listed is living in subsidized housing elsewhere, then your obligation is to investigate that and to document what you find. The new property, so your property, if the person is moving in, has the responsibility to confirm eligibility. That means that if you don't, you may be losing subsidy. Some of the ways that you're going to do this are you might call the housing provider and coordinate the move-in date with them, or you're going to ask your applicant to bring in something that confirms that they properly moved out of the old facility. And you're going to document everything in the file on that existing tenant search printout. So when you're looking at the existing tenant search, you can see this particular social security number was not found anywhere else. With that one, there's nothing further that I need to do other than to document. If it showed that somebody was an existing tenant somewhere else, I would have notes and documentation based on what actions I took to verify. The next report that you're going to look at is you're going to look at your multiple subsidy report. This is run periodically for your existing residents. Again, just like with the other one, you're going to file it whether or not there's a hit. If there is a hit, you're going to document what you did to investigate the situation. So it might be calling the facility that they're listed at. Obviously, you're going to meet with your tenant anytime you see a discrepancy. You're going to have them come in. You're going to talk to them about it. If I meet with my tenant says, absolutely not, I'm not getting subsidy anywhere else, then you're going to go farther. You're going to get some permission to talk to the new facility. You're going to find out, when did they move in? What documentation do you have? It could very well be that you're looking at a situation where somebody is fraudulently using a social security number. And then what you're going to want to do is help your tenant address that social security theft. So you're going to help them call, you're going to help them with providing documentation from their file with their permission, and document all of your efforts in that tenant file on that multiple subsidy report. This is what it looks like for you. Again, here you're seeing one where nothing else shows. If there was a tenant who was receiving subsidy elsewhere, you're going to see all sorts of information about what that facility is. Now we start getting into the identity verification reports. These are run monthly. So these are your monthly identity verification reports. Your obligation is to resolve any errors in your track submissions. For instance, you could get one of these showing up because there was an error in the social security number. If it's a typo, you're going to correct it in tracks, and then you're going to submit that, and you can document the file that you have resubmitted it and that now the error is resolved. If there is some sort of problem with what Social Security or another agency has on file, then you're going to assist your tenant in contacting that agency to get things corrected. And again, you're going to document all of the efforts. Everything that you've done should be documented in that file. So this is what the identity verification reports look like. When you go in to see these summary reports, you'll see you have X amount of identity verification reports, you have X amount that failed identity. So if you click on those links, that'll bring you to the actual report. Here is an identity verification report. This is what you're going to see if there's a problem. You click on it, and then there it will tell you that there is an issue. Again, these are not actual tenants. These are numbers and dates for this presentation. Now, your deceased tenant report is another one of those reports that people find confusing. Your deceased tenant report identifies tenants that have been reported to the Social Security Administration as deceased. Occasionally, you will find somebody who is not deceased and has been reported as deceased, and then you get the experience of being able to tell your tenant that Social Security thinks that they are no longer an active tenant because they passed away. So if they're showing as deceased and they actually are deceased, there's no issue. If they're showing as deceased and they are not, that's when you're going to need to help them contact Social Security and advise that no, they are not deceased. Next one we're going to look at is the new hires report. The new hires report is going to identify any employment that has not been reported to you. If the date and the amount match the file, you can just note the report that yes, we know that, we did a cert to correct that or to add that in March. If it is reporting something that you have not been advised of, what you're going to want to do is meet with that tenant, document the file as needed, and you may need to do a corrected certification or an interim certification depending on when that new hire happened. The income discrepancy report is the next one, and this is changing a little with HOTMA. Actually, a lot with HOTMA. So pre-HOTMA, we run these at annual with the income report. We compare the noted time frame with the most recent 5/9. So this is another area that tends to be very confusing for people. The income discrepancy report looks at a period of time which sometimes is several months back. I think it's like 18 months or so back. And it's comparing those numbers with what you've reported now. So in some cases, there can legitimately be a significant difference. If it's not really a discrepancy, for instance, yes, 2 years ago my tenant was working, they're not working anymore, so there's no real discrepancy. You're just going to note that report, tenant, quit employment on X date, or tenant lost employment on X date. All income verified is accurate, your name, the date. If it is a true discrepancy and it's something you're not aware of, then you need to investigate it, take whatever action you need to resolve it, which could be an interim or a correction. You're going to send that through tracks as needed and make sure that that is documented on that report and in the tenant file. Post-HOTMA, this report, because it uses that $200 threshold and HOTMA changes that, so post-HOTMA, this report is going to be suspended until further notice. They'll let you know if we're going to be using it and how we're going to be using it in the future. But up to HOTMA takes effect, you still need to be resolving these discrepancies. So good documentation. What makes good documentation, and what are we looking for when we're looking at your tenant file? Well, they traditionally say who, what, why, where, and when. You are documenting this file in such a way so that when the reviewer comes to your site, we can take a look at that piece of paper and know exactly what happened. Did you investigate it? What did you find out when you investigated it? And what actions, if any, needed to be taken? And then you're also going to have documentation of those actions. You want to make sure you have the name and contact information for anyone that you spoke with. How did you contact them? Was it an email? Did you call them? If it's an email, do you have a copy of the email in the file? You're going to note any relevant information. This person was confirmed to have stopped work on X date, and the signature or initials of the staff person. Also make sure, the date that you're making that note is there as well. One of the items that can be very confusing is what do I keep in the master file versus what do I keep in the tenant file? So a copy of your periodic reports, the things that you actually pull down from EIV, must be in the master file. So your monthly reports, your new hires report, your deceased tenant report, a copy of all of those is in the master file. If there's an issue, you want to put a copy of any report that has the issue and your efforts to resolve in the tenant file. So resolution efforts are always going to be in that tenant file. And then reports run at certification are kept in the tenant file. Your existing tenant search, that 90-day for now income report, and all of your income reports that you run with annuals, those are all going to be kept in the tenant file. So I hope that helps you with how to document these discrepancies and resolve them. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to me or to Vicki Bell, our other corporate trainer. And I hope you've enjoyed this Tuesday tip, and we'll see you the next time.